topic of your relationship with your partner, co-parenting together and your relationship. And we wanted to talk today about looking at the gifts in your partner as a parent. Because we've heard a lot of mothers say things like, my partner doesn't get it, or it feels like I have another child. And there's often a bit of a view that gets created over time of your partner that they just that they're doing it all wrong, kind of projecting the dysfunction in your relationship onto your partner. And we're not making you wrong for that, it's pretty common. But what we're doing today is addressing that and looking at ways that you can shift that view of your partner, shift your perspective of your partner, and create a bit more understanding and connection between you both.
Yeah, so I've had this dynamic in my household too, in that I didn't think my husband was parenting well, and what I meant when I got in touch with myself was he wasn't doing it my way. He wasn't parenting the way I would parent in that situation. And what I was discounting was what he brings to that situation, what he brings to parenting. And we each have unique gifts as individuals, and we each have gifts that we bring that are character traits of the energy that we run predominantly in our body. So there are a lot of ways to describe the flavors of energy, and some people use masculine and feminine energy, and some people use, the yin and the yang energy, and we interchange between them. You can use whatever term works for you. And when we go into this video and we start talking about it, before we get into that, I want to make it really clear that when we say a masculine energy and a feminine energy, it is true that often men run a predominantly masculine energy and women physically in their gender run a predominantly feminine energy. But it is not always the case. There's no rules around that. And we all hold both energies in our body. So I have a masculine energy that I sometimes run, and I have a feminine energy that I sometimes run. One of them I run more than the other. One of them I run more in my parenting particularly. So in my parenting I run quite a strong feminine energy. And sometimes in my business I run quite a masculine energy in my business. So within each of us we have both energies, and we run different energies at different times. So when we talk about, throughout this video, masculine energy traits and feminine energy traits, it's not always as simple as generalizing, oh, well, that's the male version and this is the female version. It does often happen that women tend to run a really strong feminine energy in parenting, particularly the mothers that are attracted to our work. And it does often happen that their partners counterbalance that feminine energy by running more masculine energy. That does often happen, but I have also seen situations where it's the mother who's running a very strong masculine energy and the partner who's balancing it by trying to run a feminine energy. And so one dynamic that we have noticed come up in partnership issues over and over again is an issue of polarity between the masculine and the feminine energy. And so we'll touch on it here because it will probably help as we move forwards into the video for you to relate it to your own relationship. And that is that if you are a woman who is running a predominantly feminine energy, a very strong feminine energy, particularly in the realms of parenting your children. So let's just use that example.
And for example, that is going with the flow,
being spontaneous, nurturing,
focusing on cooperation,
emotional realms.
And kind of a bit more that stereotype of this is not the right word for it, but being a bit more permissible rather than authoritarian and clear cut, like allowing things to blur the edges, blur the lines a bit more.
The feminine operates really happily in the greys.
Yeah.
The masculine likes the black and the white, the right and the wrong. So if you're parenting predominantly with a feminine energy, if that's just how you're naturally, or you feel most comfortable in that space, and a lot of mothers do, when they move into it, they realize they do feel more comfortable in that space. If you're running a very strong feminine energy, and in my case, I run a crazy strong feminine energy in parenting. And what can happen with your partner is, in the energy of relationship, there is, all things in life seek balance, seek that homeostasis back to balance again. Your relationship dynamic is the same. It's called polarity, but if you're highly in your feminine, your partner will swing more into their masculine to try and create that balance again within the overall harmony of the relationship. So the more you lean towards one way, if you're not conscious and your partner isn't conscious, they may lean more strongly to the masculine side that isn't being met, that isn't being addressed at all. And that may or may not feel frustrating for them, but they often fall back into that role. So that happens in my house. Before I was aware of it, it drove me completely nuts. But I would be running this strong feminine energy, and my partner, the more I moved to the feminine, and the more I moved away from the masculine, the stronger into the masculine he kept striving to be. So it's something to be aware of in the concept and in the container of this conversation that we're going to talk about now.
And that also leads into the fact that there is such a blessing in both of them. Like, the feminine way has its blessing and the masculine way has its blessings, and you can't have one without the other in a partnership. So like there's the gifts in your partner being more masculine when you're more feminine. And I could really see this because I separated from my children's father when they were quite young, and I have had a few relationships as a parent. I'm single now, but I've had like 4 different relationships, including my children's father. And watching them, especially in hindsight, and seeing the similar patterns occur, the similar things that really frustrated me about how my partners would parent my children, ended up being really similar things with a similar energy. It's like, oh, there's that thing that men do again, especially when I'm really feminine. And it would really annoy me because they weren't parenting the way I was, and it would bring up my protection of my children. But in hindsight, they were balancing out the things that I was lacking. And they were bringing gifts to my children and to the whole family dynamic that I didn't bring. So when I can look at the gifts in the masculine, then I can find the health in that and help to bring it in, to embrace it, to bring it in as a part of the way our family runs.
So before we talk about what it might look like, these masculine and feminine traits, another thing that's important to point out, that when you choose to see the gifts in both sides of the energy, and when you choose to be conscious and aware of that concept of polarity that we talked about, then the more healthier the expressions of the masculine and the feminine become in the relationship. When you're not aware of it, when you're not willing to see the gift in it, when you're
trying to push it away,
when you're against it so strongly, then the unhealthy expressions of both those energies can come out, because they both have unhealthy expressions, the masculine and the feminine, and neither of them are pretty, and neither of them are how we'd want to parent or how we'd want to be in a relationship with anyone. But when you are resisting it, not aware of it, not choosing to acknowledge it, and not working with your polarity, then the unconscious expressions come up. So if you are seeing things that you're listening to this video and you're going, I don't see how I can find the gifts in that behavior, bear with us until the end of the video, because there may be unhealthy masculine being expressed or unhealthy feminine in you. It's important to take a look at yourself here. And by the end of this, if you're looking at it consciously and seeing the gifts in both sides, you tend to move into healthy expressions of both of those, and they truly work together to create the holistic relationship that you want. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bounce off each other, and we'll describe feminine parenting and masculine parenting.
As a generalisation.
Definitely general. You're going to want to look at you and your partner. And the other thing too is you may well be running some masculine energy in your parenting. You probably are. If you're actually an effective parent, you will be running masculine energy at some point. And when you hear us talk about it, you'll understand why. But there may be areas where you're running a very dominant masculine energy, because a lot of women are in the Western world and they just naturally bring that into their parenting. And often part of that transformation of becoming a mother is switching that around again for a lot of mothers, isn't it?
Yeah. And when you can claim the really healthy feminine that kind of feels like, oh, this feels at home for me, then your partner has a chance to really step into the healthy masculine.
Okay, so should we start with feminine?
Yeah, okay, so feminine is quite creative and can see many possibilities, like open to all the different ways that things might happen, and it can kind of hold that, is okay with multifaceted experiences. That's that whole multitasking thing. Like women will kind of see this happening, that happening, and hold it all and work with it all at once.
They can work within the grey area really comfortably. In fact, they sit there more comfortably than they do in the black and the white. Everything can be grey. There's more spontaneity within that. There's more concern or focus on the inner and the emotions, the motivation, the intention. The feminine is the path back to your inner truth.
There's less need to make clear boundaries, clear disciplines, to make sure that something's clear cut.
What else is in there? There's more flow, typically. There's less need for rigidity to feel comfortable. It's okay to be, flow. Okay, the feminine also deals with beauty, with things feeling good, that sensuality.
Yeah, like less rational, more, it just feels right for me.
Yeah. It tends to be a slower pace. It slows down. It doesn't run as fast. And it also relates to some of the more well-known qualities of the feminine, I guess, that most people would associate with. And that's that nurturance and that real loving guidance and that
like
healing.
Being caring and kind.
So emotional welfare and inner is really driving a lot of the motivation behind the feminine parenting. So the masculine parenting.
The masculine parenting definitely has that stereotype of making sure that there is some sense of control and like there's an outcome. Like I need to make sure that my children are learning something, my children are getting somewhere, or
what's the point of this?
Yes, totally.
What am I imparting?
And what clear boundaries.
Structure.
Boundaries are a big one.
Yeah, structure around the chaos, containing it. They're great at holding the boundary, holding the perimeter of something, and really staying strong around that.
Very action oriented.
Very protective. They're also great at follow-up. Like if you have a conversation and make agreements, they're great at holding to the agreements, at remembering that we were going to do step 1, step 2, step 3 this weekend. All those pieces. They often sit within the more black and white, right and wrong in situations, and morals are very important to them. The point of the story, being
teaching lessons.
Yeah, being efficient, making sure all the boxes get ticked and everything that needs to be done gets done. All those pieces are from that masculine energy trait. So we're also going to give you a bit of a description of what it might look like if the two energies were being unhealthy in their expression. So we'll start again with the feminine.
Well, definitely permissive parenting. Losing a sense of what you need in the situation, kind of just going with all flow without actually getting clear on what you need.
Being overwhelmed by everything and not being able to get into action around anything, kind of always being on the back and being receptive but not being able to move into action. It can flow over into having trouble getting the family shit together in the morning and getting moving and getting out the door on time and all those pieces that go into that.
And feeling like there's at least some kind of consistency, like a lack of that, like everything just feels chaotic.
Yeah.
And like that the children don't really know what's going on in any, like what to expect.
Unhealthy feminine can also come out in your emotional expression with being really needy or being really getting stuck into like overwhelmed by poor me and I can't cope.
And so unhealthy masculine, definitely more domineering, being more controlling, authoritarian.
Impatient, often just do it because I said so.
And then on extreme violence and like rage, that kind of, and fear-based parenting, a big one.
Other ones can also be competition is actually quite a masculine energy. So creating competition to see who can get things done the fastest. That feels like quite a, that's efficient, that's getting them moving, that's getting them to compete with each other, to win for points, to go. That's all quite a masculine energy.
And lots of rules, like going, well, this is just the way it is, no questions asked, that kind of parenting.
Yeah.
Imposing a whole structure onto the children and their dynamic.
Yeah. Sometimes maybe lacking in the patience and just wanting the outcome and not wanting to hear the whole backstory, just wanting to, this is just how we're going to do it, because this is the best way, this is how it works.
So listening to the healthy and the unhealthy aspects of both of those, we're hoping you can see how you need both. You need both of those healthy aspects. Like just having the healthy feminine, you're lacking so much. Just like the philosophy of the yin and the yang, one is not whole, not complete, and doesn't quite stand on its own. You need both to stand strong.
So whether you're creating wholeness within yourself, which you should strive to do too, and find that balance, or wholeness in your relationship, which is that other outer layer, you do want to seek the gifts in both the masculine and the feminine.
And specifically for this video, we're suggesting, given all you've just learned from what we've shared, we're suggesting you start looking at your partner and looking at the way they parent with different eyes. Like look at the things that they do and look at the gifts if they were doing that in a healthy and empowered way, and really start to embrace those gifts, because that's the beginning of actually helping them to be present in your family.
Absolutely. So when you look and you see the gifts in it, there'll be things, in my case, there are often things that I don't have in me naturally, that I have to work really hard to achieve. And then when I can look and see, well, that's a trait that my partner holds naturally, he can support me in that. And this creates true partnership. I was initially focused on how I can help him with the feminine. I was like, how can I help him get the feminine, get all that nurturing, get that patience, get that emotion, all that stuff. And I wasn't looking at what he could be supporting me on and how he could help me create a bit more structure, help me create, even creating family rituals and traditions. He is much better at holding them, like tonight's pizza night. Oh, is it? Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Like, they can really help in meaningful ways where you are not naturally, it's an effort for you to work. And if you can start to look at them from that perspective, you can create more holistic partnership.
And that's where having a partner makes it easier and more enjoyable, and you're actually lifting each other as parents rather than, oh my God, I have another child and it's easier if I didn't have one, you know, that story that we've heard and I have definitely gone to.
So at the end of the day, it's about recognising the gifts that you both bring to the parenting partnership and being able to have that conversation together is the ultimate, so that you're both aware of what you feel each other's strengths and gifts are and how you can help support each other so that your partnership is stronger and you can raise your children from that more holistic, balanced space.
Let us know how the conversations go and what you discover in your partner. Until next time, enjoy. Hi.